Hello, I'm Mark Weisenburger. Welcome to Sales Secrets Exposed. If you had the opportunity to watch my intro video, you know that I have put work on the back burner for the last 2 years, and that my wife and two daughters have told me to just retire. However, I feel I have a message that I need to share with you, the sales professional. What this video today is about is what has gone into my life over the last 2 years. Why has work been placed on the back burner? Just so you can understand a little bit about me and where I'm going and why, even today, I cannot reclaim my schedule. On August 3rd, 2021, my second son was admitted to the hospital on a ventilator due to that C word that we can't speak freely of here on the social medias, or we will get canceled, or our videos and posts will be taken down. But I think you're smart enough to know what that C word is, especially with the ventilator shoved down my son's throat. My son was on that ventilator for 6 weeks, maybe just a little longer. And there were many complications that had happened during those 6 weeks that I don't think we're going to get into today because that's my son, that's not me. But he was there, and I'm sure we'll get into some of that later on. However, when they brought my son out of sedation so that they could remove the ventilator and put him on a trach, he was not responding. He was just laying there. His face and eyes were open and starting to communicate that way, but he wasn't moving. So they, being the doctors, ran a series of tests and found out that he had GBS syndrome. And I'm going to try to pronounce the name, but I'm just a poor Idaho kid, so I have problems with these French names sometimes. But it's Guillain-Barré syndrome, and you can Google that. But anyway, what that is a neurological disease brought on by viral or bacterial infections. And it only affects about 20,000 people worldwide each year. What this neurological disease does is it destroys the myelin sheathing of your nerves. And so therefore the nerves no longer communicate with each other and respond. And when the brain says move your hand doesn't move because your nerves are not helping that. So my son was basically paralyzed from the neck down when he came out of sedation. And so after he was released from the emergency room, the hospital, they put him in a long-term care facility. So from the time he went to the hospital to the time he actually went home again was 8 months that poor kid struggled and suffered in that hospital bed. And while he was in the long-term care facility, we all know the staff shortages, the nurses, doctors, CNAs, etc., that was going on at that time. And because of the shortages, I chose to sit there with my son every day that he was in that long-term care facility. I helped feed him. I helped go get his water, get him fresh water, hold that up there. I helped his CNAs transport him from his bed onto a shower bed so that they could take him down the hall and wash him. I helped the CNAs by feeding my son. Anything I could do that was not a personal, private matter to my son, I helped him do, just because I did not want him sitting there, all by himself every day, day in and day out. But also, I didn't want him having to wait until someone could come and assist him. But I remember when he first got put into the long-term care facility, again, all he could do was move his head. And so they had a little buzzer right here that he'd just roll his head over and tap to call the nurses, to call the CNAs to get some help. And that was the extent of his movement. Now, obviously, as time progressed, through medication, through natural remedies that I've been able to give him. When we first started, we were sneaking those into the long-term care facility, and that's a whole nother story. It turned out that the long-term care facility not necessarily didn't really care. They didn't like him, but they could not tell me that we couldn't use them on him. And so we went through there, and he started physical therapy, occupational therapy, all while he was on a trach and on a feeding tube. In November, he finally was able to get the feeding tube out of his mouth or out of his nose. So we were able to start feeding him a little bit. And he couldn't move his hands, and he worked through to where he could finally start feeding himself. Obviously, if it was a piece of meat or something solid, I would cut it up for him. But he did get to where he could poke a fork in it and bring it to his mouth, or pick up a cracker and bring it to his mouth. But that's where I've been. And then last April of 22, he was able to go home. But even when he went home, he was in a wheelchair, a motorized wheelchair. And even at that point, about the only thing he could do was feed himself. And with assistance, he could transfer himself from his wheelchair into his bed. But again, he had to have assistance. And at that point, his girlfriend was there, and she was able to take care of most of that. But I was still on call. And I still went up a few times, stayed with him 24/7 while his girlfriend had to go someplace and do different things. However, during the summer of 22, I did have the opportunity to perform a beta test on 2 test subjects, which we will talk about a little later on, which got my head thinking and spinning, actually. And I'd heard, was thinking of this the whole time he was in the long-term care facility. But now that he was out, I was actually able to perform a beta test using a very unique technology that has been around for about 20 years, but not in being used the way that I wanted to use it. And we will do some videos on that, actually a lot of videos, because that technology and what I discovered in my beta tests will change the sales world, the world of personal development, the world of training, all around the world, I do believe. And I'm excited to have you part of that. And so I'm continuing on taking care of my son. His insurance has quit paying for his physical therapy, and they're about ready to stop paying for his occupational therapy. So I go up to the physical therapy business company, whatever you want to call that, where they have all the equipment and tools that he needs. And I help him with therapy. And so I will be honest right now, he is my number one priority, and he is consuming, I don't want to say consuming all my time or a lot of my time, but I am not going to be working full time on my business because I've started a new business. And as we go through this program, these YouTube channels, I'm going to be using what I have developed called the 5 5-step framework to sales success. And I'm going to be using that to build a brand new business. And I'm going to be sharing with you what I do, how it works, how it doesn't work, etc. And we'll create a video here shortly on what that 5-step framework is for sales success so that you will know, and then we'll break that down and dive deeper and deeper into that. But just so you know, I am not here 40 hours a week or 60 or 70. I am here on a part-time basis, maybe 15, 20 hours a week, depending upon the situation and how things go with my son and when his insurance kicks him off. With that said, I am here. As I mentioned, my wife and 2 daughters have told me to retire, but I can't. I've got something burning inside me. And so I want to share that with you. And the best way for you to learn is to make sure you subscribe, click on the bell so that you get notified of every video that's coming along. Share this channel with your sales associates, others in the sales world that's trying to improve their lives. And we will all work together. And also, make sure you please leave comments down below, leave questions down below. By leaving those comments and questions, that's how I will know what information you are looking for. How, and I will show you how these secrets that I've come up with, these sales secrets exposed, how they apply to those situations. And now, obviously, some of the information we'll give, you've probably learned a little bit about or heard about throughout your sales career, but we're going to dive deeper. We're going to take them from a whole new angle so that it's not what your typical sales trainers out in the world are training. It's not what your motivational speakers are speaking about. It's not what your sales manager is teaching you. This is going to be new stuff. And so I'm excited to present this to you. I'm excited to have you along for the journey. And I appreciate you listening to my story. And if you have any questions about my story, go ahead and let me know, because I love sharing that, because it rocked our world. But I have learned so much over the last 2 years. I've learned that family is the most important thing in this world. And yes, I always knew that. However, now I understand that, and I understand what that means. And I'll quote my son on this because it's been interesting. My son was always kind of very reserved, and he'll be mad at me when I say this, but a little bit on the angry side, actually, growing up, and for a number of reasons, and I don't blame him at all. But through this ordeal, he has become friendly. He's become a chatterbox. He'll talk to anyone, anywhere, about anything. But he made a comment to his mom once, not too long ago, when they were just talking. And he said, "I knew you loved me, but now I know." So he always knew that mom and dad and siblings loved him. But after seeing that we were there for him, seeing what we were willing to sacrifice for him to get him to where he can live a functioning life again, he now understands that family loves him. And that's the most important thing in this world. And so as we go through these videos, through this training, through this series, I want you to know, and I want you to develop that understanding that family is the most important thing. But I also want you to understand that family is the most important thing. So again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, Share this video with others that you think could benefit from it. And again, leave your questions down below so that I know what to make videos on and how to do that as I document my sales journey using the 5-step framework for sales success. Thank you. I appreciate you, and I look forward to getting to know you and building a relationship with you. Have a great day.